Alright, so if you've been around long enough, then you might have caught in my Black Clover video in regards to whether it was a Naruto ripoff or not, and I talked a little bit about it. I believe that was made earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been last year, but it was somewhere within the span of a year ago. And I talked about, just the comparisons, and to be honest, that very first chapter was extremely similar to Naruto to the point where, yeah, it was borderline ripoff. I mean, I want to be the Sorcerer Emperor. I was bullied and picked on when I was little, and I was ostracized because I was this and that, and I have my rival, and a lot of those core elements that Naruto had. But 40 chapters later, because I just caught up, currently we're on chapter 40 of the manga, whatever, where does it stand? Is it still on that same level? Now I'll talk a little bit about my journey with it. To be honest with you, Black Clover, over the first, I want to say 20 to 20 something chapters or whatever, it actually delved into feeling like a lot of different series. It did dungeons like Magi. Of course, it had that Naruto feel. It had the fairy tale feel. It had a couple of different things that it felt like, oh shit, it reminds me of that series. It kind of reminds me of that series. And I think that that was the manga trying to find its place and what it wants to be. But along the way, something that was pretty cool that happened was it actually did some pretty interesting world building and did some awesome characters to boot. Like, I would say one of the strong points right now of Black Clover is it has a lot of fucking characters that I really like and I think are really cool. And as far as comparing it to Naruto, I will tell you right now, there are still some of those elements, and I think they're going to remain there because, first of all, I think the creator of this or whatever is probably a huge Naruto fan, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the Sorcerer Emperor Julius looks straight up like Naruto in the end of the series, like the Hokage Naruto. He's like him, except he's a little bit more badass in a sense of, not putting Naruto down or anything like that, but he's kind of like a Sinbad in a way. It's like you don't really know his motives and you're like, what's going on with him or whatever, but he's a fucking badass and he kind of looks a little bit like Naruto. And as of right now, I definitely feel as though the series found its way. It still has elements of other different series, mainly, again, Naruto. Like the main character, he's kind of like Naruto meets Rock Lee, where he doesn't have powers or whatever, but ultimately he built up his body. And then he also kind of has like dual wielding swords, kind of remind me of like an Ichigo or something like that. But I feel as though the series has found its legs in a sense. It's kind of like a baby of Naruto mixed with Fairy Tail, and not necessarily all the bad things about Fairy Tail either. Some of the good stuff of Fairy Tail. And I really want to talk about it because, to be honest with you, reading these 40 chapters, marathoning and catching up, I had a blast with it. I will tell you right now, it's not the greatest series in the world. Again, it's kind of like a mixture of early Naruto and like early Fairy Tail, I would say, the magical world or whatever. But again, just some of the things I enjoy about it is the characters, for starters. I mean, between the Silver family that are pompous assholes, I think they're above everybody. They're like, yo, we the Silver family. You have Asta, the main character, that is just like, I don't give a fuck. And again, it's kind of like Naruto. Again, I'm not going to say that it completely delve away from it, but he's kind of like, I don't give a fuck. Okay, you're rich. I'll still kick your ass. Let's go right now. You know what I'm saying? You have the Silver family. You have the Vermilion family. They're pretty awesome too, especially the head dude and what happened to him. I mean, for crying out loud, you even had a mini Walking Dead type of arc in the series thus far, where you had like some zombie ass motherfuckers that were not really revived, but they were being controlled or whatever. You had some shit like that inside there. So imagine like an arc where it's like Fairy Tail meets The Walking Dead. That sounds crazy, right? But it happened. And one of the cool sides to it, but then at the same time I feel as though it can be a downside to it, is that the characters that you like are always around. But sometimes that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, for example, in Naruto, Sasuke needs to go away for a while, so when he comes back into the picture and into the, story or whatever, it's interesting and you're excited for it. A lot of times, like, for example, Asta's rival and his friend and brother, or whatever the hell you want to call him, he's in the story a lot. And sometimes I think it's best if put away for now and then bring him back. But I think it's a victim of the fact that he's trying to stay and jump. And right now, Black Clover is doing pretty decent. It's not doing amazing, but it has beat out One Piece. It has beat out a couple different series in the rankings a couple different times. It actually even beat out My Hero Academia, which has been exploding. It's been #1 and #2 quite a few different times. So Black Clover right now is looking like it's here to stay for a while, which is fucking awesome, because I will tell you right now, again, if you like early Naruto, if you like a little bit of Fairy Tail, hell, even like a little bit of Magi in there, you will like Black Clover. Is it completely strayed away from its roots of being like Naruto? No. The Sorcerer Emperor, he looks, for crying out loud, like Hokage Naruto, and he has the badassery of like a Sinbad, but it's definitely found its way in a sense of like world building, setting up for the villain. So far, the main villain of the series, seemingly, he's looking like he can be a boss. But at the same time, I feel as though the Sorcerer Emperor is fucking awesome. And again, the dream that, Asta has or whatever, of like, I want to be just like him, I want to surpass him or whatever, I'm going to be the best or whatever. It's like Naruto, but I feel as though it's kind of like, okay, for example, have the Hokage, but have him be young. Instead of having the third Hokage, you have like a young version that's badass. So it's something like that. And I guess one of the downsides to it is lately, in the past few chapters or so, Black Clover has definitely had a couple of tropes that is kind of like, I've seen it a million times, you know, a lot of girls are falling in love with Asta as the series goes on. We have Mimosa, Noelle, like, you know, these characters, they're falling in love with him, and it's kind of like, there's not much to fall in love. He's a very simple, goofy dude that just has a lot of determination. It's kind of like one of those things that I don't really care for, and also it's getting a little bit ecchi here or there. Although we haven't seen one of the biggest ecchi characters in a while, Vanessa. Yo, let me see more of Vanessa. As far as fights go, I will tell you right now, it is better than a lot of fairy tale fights, because it actually gets strategic, and sometimes it is kind of like, oh, you know, Asta saved the day, but ultimately it's kind of strategic, and there's different techniques that they use, and kind of like, you know, the big motherfuckers that are supposed to be beasts do get fucked up in this. So it's pretty interesting that it's not just doing stupid shit. So if you're scared of like, oh, shitty fights or whatever, it has some pretty awesome fights. Some of the fights I've already seen, I've been like, I can't wait to see this animated. So yeah, my whole point of this video is basically to say Black Clover is pretty freaking awesome. It's not anywhere near as bad as it was in the beginning of being just like Naruto, but it still has some of those roots, and it has some fairy tale roots, and it does some cliche things from time to time, but it's a really enjoyable read, and I definitely recommend you check it out, because I think this is something that everybody could like at some given point. It's not, again, going to give you the depths of any, like, Tokyo Ghoul or some crazy shit like that. It's not going to happen, but you will get some enjoyment out of it. I can tell you that right now, because I had a nice fun read with it. If you read Black Clover, let me know what you think. Do you think that it's going to be something big in the future? Again, right now it's been doing pretty decent in the rankings, and I have high hopes for it, but you never know. It could get canned tomorrow. Shit just happens. And if you haven't, will you check it out? Again, early Naruto meets fairy tale meets a little Magi and its own world at the same time. That's something not to sneeze at, you know? But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so as well, that'd be amazing. I'm Finette World, and as always, people, have an awesome day.